Hello, Stitchy friends. How is everyone doing? Today is Monday, August 3rd, 2026. This is Flosstube number 104. My name is Andrew. This is my dog Winston, and you're here at The Runner Stitcher. This is my channel where I talk primarily about my cross-stitch journey, a little bit about running as well. And I'm just so happy you're here. Thank you for coming by and spending a little bit of time with me to see what I've been up to in the past week. If you're a new subscriber, thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy what you see and stick around to see more of the projects that I'll be working on. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate it. I know time is vital, and it means a lot that you're spending that time with me. I love this time with you as well. I think this is the first week in a while that I don't actually have any housekeeping things to start off the week with, which is kind of nice. However, we are now in a new month. We are in August, and that means that I will be shifting what I've been focusing on highlighting from last month's patterns, which were Crochet de Go-Go, and this month I decided to switch it up a little bit, and I'm going to focus on kits. If you have been watching this channel for any amount of time, you know that I love kits. I have so many in my stash ready to go, and I just really enjoy stitching on them. They're a lot of fun for me. So I thought this would be the perfect time to start highlighting one of the brands of kits that I have yet to try, but they have beautiful, beautiful designs, and that is Riolis. Now, you may have heard of Riolis before because some of their kits do have the cotton thread, and then some have like a wool acrylic blend thread. So it just kind of depends on the kit that you get. But throughout this month of August, I will be sharing some kits that I love and don't own, some that I do have and want to share with you, and I think it'll just be fun to highlight some of these kits. So the first one I want to highlight this month it's a smaller kit, but super cute. This one is called Hedgehogs in Lingonberries, and I'll put a picture up here of what this looks like, but it's these two cute hedgehogs, and this is what Riolis does really well. There's enough detail in there that you know exactly what it is and what they're talking about, and yet they still make them look super cute. So this kit would be awesome to stitch. I'm sure it'd be a lot of fun. I will have a link in the description box down below where you can purchase this kit through Lindy Stitches, and if you click on that link, she does have a lot of other Riolis kits on her site as well, so you can browse through and see some other ones that I might be highlighting throughout the month. But yeah, this one is on there, and wanted to share it as my first sort of spotlight on Riolis kits for this month. So let me know in the comments, have you ever stitched a Riolis kit, and what were your thoughts? What did you enjoy about them, and how did you like working with the different flosses? Now I think we'll just jump right into the whips that I was able to work on this week, because this was a lighter stitching week for me. I think I told you last week that I didn't really have a lot of plans over the weekend, and I thought I would get a lot of stitching time in. Well, that just did not happen. And so that made it for a very light stitching week for me this week. So I don't have too much to share with you, but I am excited for the 4 projects I was able to touch, and I'll show you the updates on those. And I'll talk a little bit more about life things later on. But yeah, the weekend just kind of got away from me, and I did not get as much stitching in as I had hoped, which was okay. But yeah, hopefully this week will be different. I feel like whenever I preemptively say how much stitchy time I'm going to have for the week, it just goes the opposite of what I think. So I just need to stop saying it and be open to whatever stitchy time I get during the week. But one of the projects I was able to work on is Saga, and that is because I'm trying to work on this every single week. Here is what this looks like. This is from Long Dog Samplers. Sorry about the little glare there. There we go. It's this beautiful piece, and I absolutely love working on it. I'm going to continue pulling it out week after week, and I will put a video in here of where I was when I started the week. Okay, here's my starting point for Saga for the week. We are going to see if I can finish this arch. I think it's less than 500 stitches, but I'm just guessing. So we'll see it soon. Apparently Winston has a lot to say today. Are you talking about Saga? Oh, you are? Okay. Well, we'll see how far I get. You'll see it now. This week I was able to add in 580 stitches, and that puts me at 70.86%. And so here is what Saga looks like now. This is stitched on a 36 count vintage country mocha. I'm using Silks for You PR207, and I'm using 1 strand of the silk over 2 linen threads. And I can't believe how big this is getting now. It's awesome. We've got one more row of arches below at the very bottom. That's the biggest row that there is. So it will probably be about 25% of the piece will be in that final arch there, which is kind of crazy. But let's zoom in a little bit and I'll show you what I was able to work on this week. So you'll notice the two big motifs are now done. We have our rhinoceros and we have our crocodile from the rock, paper, scissors, rhino, croc game that was described in the story that I read to you a couple weeks ago. And that arch is now completed. So everything in that arch is done. Typically I do about 550 stitches. This took about 580 to get everything done, but the whole arch is completed now. And that was kind of perfect timing. So next week is when I will start up here and I'll bring this arch over to the edge, and then I'll start sort of working down the side border to make sure it all lines up there. But yeah, another arch completed. I think there is a story with this half arch, so stay tuned because maybe within a couple more weeks we'll have another Saga story to go with that half arch. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this one turned out. I really do enjoy it and I think it's looking good. So here is, maybe we'll just try to do today like a little bit of a pan of everything, if I could fit it all in. It's so big. I'm just gonna kind of scroll up a little bit so you can kind of see all of the different arches, all of the different motifs that we've got so far. But yeah, that's my update on Saga. So I will pull this out again this week for sure, and we'll see more. All right, the next piece I was able to work on was Pride Quaker Flag. This is from Vivsters on Etsy. I will have a picture up here of what that's going to look like in the end. And what I've been doing so far is working the colors all the way down, like one color each week. I was kind of adding a new color. And I thought that's what I was going to do this week as well. And I was going to add the final color of purple in at the very bottom to see what the whole thing looked like as a whole with all the different colors. And my plan sort of changed a little bit with that because I really wanted to stitch on yellow this weekend. And the reason for that is it's one of my best friends here in the city, her mom passed away a few weeks ago and it was very sudden. She found out she had cancer about 3.5, 4 weeks before that. And the decline was just very rapid and very quick. And this was someone that I also was close with, and her mom came into the city a lot and always loved hanging out with everybody, with her friends, and we always got to see her when she was here in the city. She even did, if you remember when I did the Disney races a number of years ago with my mom at Disney, I ran them with my friend Alyssa, and her mom was there with us. So it was her and her mom and me and my mom that did that Disney trip together. And so it kind of hit me hard that she had passed away. The reason I say all this to you is that the services for her were this past weekend, and her favorite color was yellow, and they encouraged people to wear yellow for the service in memory of her. And so when I got to stitching on my Pride Quaker Flag, which I know she would have loved and would have appreciated, I decided instead of stitching on the purple, I was going to continue stitching on the yellow this week. And so I did that as a way to remember her and as a way to, just kind of, I couldn't be there at the services myself, but to be a part of them and kind of support all of the family and everyone around them. So it felt really nice to be stitching on yellow this week, and I had a special meaning to it. And now I'll always remember that as part of this project. But because I already did stitch a little bit of this color, I did take a video of where I was when I started the week, so I'll insert that here. Okay, here's my starting point for Pride Quaker Flag. You'll see where I get to now, but I probably will be working up in here this week. So you'll see how far I get. And in total, I was able to add in 320 stitches on the yellow part. And so here is the update. This is where I got to. It's kind of hard to tell from far back, but we'll zoom in a little bit and show it. This is a 40 count Stormy Skies by Fox and Rabbit Linen, and I'm using a one DMC color, which is this blue right here, and then the rest are Pirate and Robin flosses. And I think the yellow that I'm using is called Butter. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit now so you can see I definitely brought the yellow over this direction more than what I had before. You can see that that is the color that I have the most worked on, other than maybe the red at the top. The rest are just little snippets of it all here, but the yellow is what I was able to get done. This design is so fun. I really like how that turned out. And yeah, just was excited to get some more stitching done on this. I've been kind of thinking if how I like the yellow into the green here, and if the green is too light, that it sort of fades into the fabric a little bit. I'm still convinced that it's okay. And I do, in person you can see the green even better, and I think that it looks good together. I think all the colors blend well. So I'm going to continue with this and hopefully not have to regret my choices. But I think the colors are working, and it's at least good for me. So that was my update on Pride Quaker Flag this week. I will bring it out again next week because I do want to get this final color in. So the purple will be worked on this week. And then once that happens, I'll just get to choose a color each week and work on it. Or maybe I'll come back up to the top, like I said, and kind of work on a different color each week. But this is definitely a fun piece to pull out each week because I can get pretty many stitches in with just one strand of floss. I'm stitching it one strand over 2 linen threads. And so I can get a number of stitches in with just one strand, and it's fun to see the progress and kind of work on some bright colors. So this is the update on Pride Quaker Flag from Vivsters on Etsy. And I'll just do sort of a close-up zoom here so you can see everything. And yeah, come back next time for some purple stitching. The next piece I worked on was my mystery stitch, and I did have enough time on Saturday to film a quick little stitch with me video, and that's basically all the stitching I got done on this piece. If you watched that stitch with me, you'll know that I had just a little bit of that bottom section of the diagonal I was working in to finish, and I said I was going to at least try to do that, and I did that. So that was a little bit of extra stitching, but in total I added 152 stitches to this piece, putting me at 0.89%. So we're still not at that 1% mark, but we are making progress. So here is what this looks like now. You'll see this latest diagonal is all the way completed, all the way down to the end. And I put a few tiny stitches up here in that first row of the next diagonal, but didn't really get a chance to get as far through that as I thought I would. So that's what it looks like now. And yeah, this next diagonal should be a fun one because I think we're going to get to some parts where you'll really be able to kind of guess a little bit better, I think. So I'm excited for that and definitely want to keep bringing this out. And I've really enjoyed the Stitch With Me videos with you as well. It's been fun to kind of dedicate that time to just spending with you and chatting and catching up. But that's the update on the mystery piece. Hopefully next week we'll have a little bit more progress. And I've only got one other whip for you this week, and that's kind of a curveball whip for me in that it's one that I just wanted to work on, so I pulled out. And that is Strawberries Forever. This is what it's going to look like in the end. It's a piece from Told in the Garden, and I absolutely love it. I think we're still kind of in strawberry season, right? Summer is strawberries, so I felt, I just wanted to stitch on it a little bit more. I think mainly what it is I had been working on those quilts down here at the bottom, and I did 2 of them, and I really just enjoyed them. They were a lot of fun. It was kind of like full coverage stitching in a way, and I just really enjoyed the process on those. So I decided I was going to bring this back out again. So I will put a video in here where I was when I started the week. Okay, here's my starting point for Strawberries Forever. I am definitely going to be working in this section, but I think I'm going to start over here and work on the next quilt that's on this side. So you'll see if that's what I actually get to and how far I get. And I actually made some decent progress on this. I added 765 stitches to this piece, which that's a good amount for the week. So let me show you where I got to now. So this is stitched on a 28 count Jobelin in the color, I believe it's called Green Sage. This was just a scrap fabric that I have, so I don't know who the dyer was or who the brand of the fabric is, but it was the right size for this piece, and I thought the greenish color would look great with the strawberries. So what I worked on this time was these 2 quilts right here, which I think both of them are beautiful designs. This one especially just looks really, really great with all of the different color shading in there and the different designs in the quilt itself. But even this big one here with the bigger star is super fun. There's a number of different greens in there which add a layer of shading to the piece that I really love. And again, I just really enjoyed working on all 4 of those quilts. So we now have all 4 quilts completed, which is really awesome. So we are getting very close to a finish on this piece, because if you'll see under the quilts, we've got one more row of strawberry baskets, we've got one row of strawberries, and then we have that border kind of at the very bottom. So it's really getting close, it's really getting there. I also had a little bit more time, so I added we have 2 floating heads here of the Amishman and the Amish woman. His hat is done and her face and bonnet are done, but I did not get a chance to work on their bodies. So we have 2 floating heads, unfortunately, but they will have a body soon. And yeah, I really enjoy this piece. I know I've said it before, but if you're new here, this piece reminds me of where I grew up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, because in the summers, a lot of the Amish farms would have a little stand at the end of their driveway, and they would have the little green containers of strawberries, the little pint containers of strawberries, and you would just kind of leave money at the end of their driveway and take a pint. And I remember that so well, and they were always fresh and delicious. And so this piece totally reminded me of that. And I knew I had to stitch it as soon as I saw that this cross-stitch piece existed. So yeah, that's the progress I made, and I think this will keep coming out, which I might talk about in my plans a little bit, but maybe we'll see this again soon. But that's the update on Strawberries Forever. And those are the whips that I worked on this week. I had a lot of fun working on those pieces, and even though it wasn't as much as I thought I might get done, I still enjoyed every second, which is important. So now let's talk a little bit about plans. Well, of course, you know, Saga will come out for its weekly stitching. And then I sort of talked about this a little bit last week, but I have sort of a new game stitchy rotation that I created, a little like web application that I'm using to kind of determine some rotations or pick projects that I'm working on and assign goals to them that I can, stitch on different pieces that I have been working on recently. So I thought I was going to start that August 1st. I didn't, but I did pick my projects for the categories. So I will show a picture of this here, but I basically have 3 categories. One is my choice. Another category is a choice of my Patreon members. And then number 3 is a random whip that I'm calling the wizard will summon, the wizard summoning slot. And that will just pick a project from my list of whips and pop it in there for the next goal. So so we'll just run through each of those categories now, but the first category was my choice, and I decided to put in little acorns. And the reason I did that is because I've been so itching to stitch on fall again. I know I just put little acorns down not that long ago, but since I had that one day of like a little bit of crisp air in the morning, I've just been ready to stitch fall things. And so I decided I'm gonna put little acorns back in here for this category rotation. Now, in the current goal I only have 7 stitches to go to complete that goal. So that will be done very, very easily. And that means I will probably put it back in this My Choice slot, which will then have a new goal of 900 stitches. So this piece will be sort of in my whips to choose from in rotation until I complete those 907 stitches. The next category was my Patreon viewers got to choose, and they voted on all of my whips, and the one with the highest number of votes is the one that got put into the slot, and that winner was Under the Oaks from Marezhka, which I'm super excited to get back to because I haven't worked on that since Florida, and I made really good progress while we were in Florida, and so I'm ready to get back to that one. So I was super excited that came back out, and that has a goal remaining of 594 stitches. So that will also be an option in my rotation to choose from until it hits 594 stitches. The final category was the wizard summoning slots, and randomly it picked 1838 Elizabeth Masterton, which was my Scottish sampler that I had been using for Whip into Shape for the longest time, and then sort of just fell off the radar of stitching. So that will come back out. That one only has a goal of 100 stitches, and so likely I'll be able to complete that this week, and then I'll choose, or not I will choose, the wizard will randomly choose a new whip to fill into that slot. But we'll at least get 100 stitches on it, and it'll get it back into the front of my mind. Maybe I can work on that again at some point. The cool thing about all three of those projects is they are very autumn to me. Little Acorns, very autumn to me. Under the Oaks takes place with all the fall foliage, and even Elizabeth Masterton, the colors remind me a lot of autumn with the deeper greens and the golds, and yeah, it just kind of reminds me of autumn a lot, which is perfect because, as I said, that's what I wanted to stitch on. So I decided I'm going to start a new hashtag and I'm going to start a new sort of stitch along if you want to stitch with me, and that is going to be called hashtag #AutumnSal. And basically it's combining autumn and summer because we're still in summer, but I know there's other people out there who just want to start stitching autumn already. And so if we're stitching autumn in summer, we can call it the hashtag #AutumnSal. And basically that is just pull out any fall or autumn project that you have that kind of gets you in those cozy vibes or those fall foliage colors, and let's start stitching on it now and see how far we can get before we actually get to fall. I think so many times once we get to the season, things just get busy and I end up not stitching as much on the projects that I wanted to anyway. And so I think that this will be good to have a little lead up to fall and kind of work on some projects ahead of time. So if you're interested in fall stitching and you want to share your progress, use the hashtag #AutumnSal, and I'll be sure to be looking for that on Instagram, and we'll see all of the lovely fall projects that people are working on and all of the updates on there. So I was really happy that the 3 whips in those categories kind of fell right in line with this sal. And yeah, so right now there's only 3 options of whips for my rotation. As I get further in the game, more slots sort of open up and the goals will continue to get harder. There's also ways that I can earn new starts in the game. There's also a way that I can put a whip back in the vault if I don't feel like working on it on a rotation. But right now, those 3 whips that were called, I am good with. So I will be working through that. But I'm going to be sharing a lot more about this game on my Patreon channel for now. I'm still sort of working out some of the kinks with it and how I might be able to use it or share it with more people. But I first want to just try it out myself and see how it all is working and if people are liking it or not. So I'll be sharing more in depth about the game on Patreon, and kind of when I finish a goal, I'll be sharing the process of picking the new whip with them there on the Patreon channel, which is super exciting, and I think it'll be fun for them to kind of just keep up with what I'm working on with this new sort of game that I created for myself. And all of that is just a way because I really love plans. I really enjoyed temperature stitching where I had a couple different categories or different choices to choose from, but I didn't want it tied to a specific amount per week. So this way, you know, I can work on Little Acorns over the next month and get 900 stitches in, or I can put 900 stitches in it this week if I want to. So there's no deadline associated with it. It's just a goal associated with that project. And once I meet that goal, then it gets put back in the vault and a new project comes out. So I'm hoping that this will be a fun way just to kind of keep going through my whips. I also, with this game, will have a few events throughout the year where there'll be specific sort of categories to work on, similar to how Jen the Caffeinated Crafter has been doing her channel, because I've really been enjoying that as well. So for instance, over Halloween, there'll be a Halloween event in the game, and I'll have the option to stitch on any Halloween pieces that I have. So all of that is coming, and this is just like kind of a brief update, but that's kind of what I'm doing and what I'm thinking for my new sort of plans or rotation. So, but I'll be sharing with you each week what the goals are and what projects are in my rotation sort of bucket, if you will. And as far as life goes, I did have a really good week. The rest of the work week went well last week, and I continued running throughout the week. On Saturday morning, they hosted summer streets here in the city, which is where they block off a section of road that no traffic can drive on it, and it's just open to the public to run or walk or bike. And it's always so much fun because these are streets that you normally can't just run in the middle of, obviously, in the city. But they have a path that goes all the way from the top of Manhattan down to the Brooklyn Bridge, and you can run that path the whole way on roads. They also have some rest stops along the way with bathrooms and water there, so that is kind of nice on a hot day. But I always try to take advantage of these because they only happen for 3 Saturdays in the month of August. So if I'm here in the city, I'm always trying to take advantage of summer streets. And that's what I did on Saturday. So I ran 10 miles and did kind of an up and back of that summer streets course and ended or right near Central Park, and was actually able to meet up with a friend and have coffee with him, which was very nice. So it was a nice little treat after my 10-mile run to just stop and get a coffee and enjoy the nice weather. So that was a really good time. And then when I got back, I just felt exhausted and my body was just so tired. I also had a little bit of a headache, and I'm not sure what was going on the rest of the day Saturday, but I was just beat. And I took a nap Saturday afternoon. I think that was after I filmed my, maybe that was before I filmed my stitching video. I can't remember now. And then I sat down for the rest of the evening and I thought, I'm gonna just stitch. And I ended up being too tired to even stitch. I was sitting here like barely keeping my eyes open. Finally at like 8 o'clock or 8:30, I went to bed and I was like, I'm just going to try to sleep whatever this is off. And so I did. So Sunday I felt much better in the morning, and a friend and I actually went to see the filming of the Broadway show Hadestown. They filmed it and kind of compiled it into a movie version that they released in movie theaters. And I wasn't planning on seeing it, but a lot of my friends kept messaging me saying, this is so good, you have to see it. And so I finally decided, okay, I should go see it. And I really loved this filming of it. I saw the Broadway show about a year or two ago and absolutely loved it. I loved the music, I loved the acting, and this filming was with the original cast, and the filming was just beautiful. In a way, it enhanced the show so much because you got to see different camera angles that you couldn't see when you were an audience member. You got to see some close-up shots so you could see the emotion on the actors' faces, and it just was really enjoyable. I didn't expect to come away from it enjoying that musical even more than I already did, and that's how it left me. I just really loved it. So I was happy to get to do that. And then the rest of the day yesterday, I did some stuff around the apartment, and I did get a tiny little bit of stitching in. And then I was just sort of focused on kind of sharing my game with my Patreon members and kind of filming a little bit for that. So not as much stitching as I thought I would, but it was a solid weekend overall, and I did still manage to squeeze in a long run. This coming weekend, I'm planning to do another long run on the weekend on summer streets, and this time I'm going to try to run all the way from my apartment, which is in Harlem, all the way to the Brooklyn Bridge, over the Brooklyn Bridge, and I'm going to try to end at my favorite diner in Brooklyn, which is called Clark's Diner. It's just such a wonderful spot. The food is delicious, and there's nothing like having waffles and coffee after a long run that just really fuels me. So that's my goal for this weekend, to have that long run and finish in Brooklyn at that diner that I have not been back to in quite a while. So that should be a fun run there. And otherwise, Winston and I are doing good. We are just trying to enjoy the last little bits of summer and enjoy the time we get to be outside. So we're doing good, but otherwise it's been kind of a pretty standard week for us. So with that, I will let you go and get on to your next Flosstube. Thank you so much for watching and seeing what I've been up to. And I will just say, keep running if you're a runner. Always keep stitching and be kind to whoever you meet on your journey. Bye for now, until the next stitch.